Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
Cha Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha Cha Music Review Podcast.
Gotta get it.
This is not Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha Cha Music Review Podcast.
Cha Cha Music Review Podcast.
Baby, let's go!
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Cha Cha Nation. Welcome to another episode of the Cha Cha album review series on the Cha Cha Music Review Podcast. And you already know, my name is Mephyz, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. Today, we will be talking about the album titled Lost Boy from Erigga. And yes, I said we because I am not alone. I have my homie, and without wasting much of your time, let me allow my homie to introduce himself.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and I'd like to introduce myself as a certified Cha Cha Geng.
How you did, our brother? Everything is up.
I'm good, man. I'm good.
All right. Like I already said, today we'll be talking about the Lost Boy album by Erigga. But before we go into what the album sounds like and what the album does not sound like, let me quickly give a quick info about the album. Like I said, the name of the artist is Erigga. The album is titled The Lost Boy. The album was released on the 2nd of September 2022. The album contained 13 tracks, and the featured artists on the album include EBII, Teazer, Organ Network, Igosave, Jeriq, PsychoYP, Mephyz, Odumodublvck, and Yuang. Those are the people that featured on the album. The production credits on the album go to Heze, Hyperactive, Yuang, and Chech. Those are the people that produced the album. And this is also going to be Erigga's 5th studio album. So, Bemi, let me ask you this. For the first time you listened to the album, what was your impression?
Well, my first impression was growth, and more growth. Like Erigga he has come a long way from his first album, Erigga. It's like till now he has had 5 albums, 2 EPs, and all I could just hear was growth, like from the production, in fact even to the album cover. Like if you take Memory Lane down all his EPs, and it has always been this kind of aggressive show of force, but on this album, like, it became more mature, it became calm, easy, and like with more experience in the game. So like it was first listening, it was just all growth. I could just see progress.
Okay, what you saw was progress and what you saw was growth. Were you able to connect with the album on the first listening, or you were somewhere in between, or you didn't feel it at all on your first listening?
Well, I think Erigga stuck to his heels, because he's known for talking about things on the streets, talking about hustle, and the first few tracks, Inshallah, L with V, was still his normal braggadocious kind of lifestyle, and trying to show like he's the king of the South and all that. Like, he really brought it in, I would say, in the more matured way, but I think he still stuck to his old school ways.
So he still stuck to his old school ways and all of that. Now, when we were talking about his growth, you mentioned the production, that you heard on the album. So will you say, describe the production of this album? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it mid? Or was it a letdown?
I think the production was good, though. I think the production was good compared to his other albums, and even he said it. I think the first track, like, a lot of money went down. Like, if you're following him on social media, you see how he was traveling from country to country to do recordings. So like, he wasn't really just free recorded in Nigeria here. Like, he had to go out there and get new ideas, new production inputs, which actually made it. He made it well. Like, I really like the production. Like, it was way better than the last Erigga 2 album.
Okay, I mean, like you already said, if there was something I also saw in this album, it was about the growth of Erigga. But the growth in the sense of, because I'm not going to lie to you, when I listened to the album for the first time, I didn't really connect with the album because it felt a bit different, right? So when I saw that Erigga was releasing the album and I saw the title The Lost Boy, I'm like, okay, fine. I was expecting something like what he did on Erigga 2 or something. But then when I listened to the album, the first track, like you rightly said, Inshallah, I'm like, okay. Then came L with the V. I was a bit confused. Then came How Many Girls. Then came Violence. I mean, Violence was one of the, in fact, Violence was the only song that was released as a single of the album. So I was able to connect with Violence. Then I got to Broke or Rich. That's track 5. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me just pause. Maybe I'm not in the mood to listen to this album. That's why I'm not feeling it. Because, I mean, it's Erigga. And you and I, we've been a fan of Erigga since day one, since Most Streets Gone. So it felt weird for me not to be able to connect with the album. So I just chilled and I didn't listen to the album again. Then after like 2-3 days, I picked up the album. And what I did was I now put the album on shuffle. Instead of listening to the album from track 1 to track 13, I felt like, okay, you know what? Let me listen to this album on shuffle. If I can't connect to it on shuffle, then that is the end. So the first track that played was Cotton Candy. And that track just blew my mind. And before you knew it, I was able to connect, with the whole album. And then also the production, like you rightly said, the production was dope. Every single producer that worked on the album, came through on the album in terms of, production. So now let's go into what songs were your top favorite song or are your top favorite song on the album, and what song will you say, this one, to compare to every other song we on top of the album, this one not to gel like that?
So my favorite song on the album has to be If Na Only Food Wey Dey Make You Come Around, E No Good.
E No Good.
That has got to be my favorite song on the album. I like that guy, Oga Network. I'm like
Oga Network. Yeah.
That's the first time he's been collaborating with Erigga.
Erigga.
For like 2-3 tracks together. That song really hit home. So that would be my favorite song on the album. Other songs I like were actually songs that featured people. Like, I'm like, where did he get these people from? So this young guy, which I've never heard before, I'm hearing him on this album for the first time. How Many Girls that I did with the young guy. I like Lit with PsychoYP, Cotton Candy with Mephyz. I think those would be my best 3 tracks. So that's track 6, Family Ties, Lit with PsychoYP, Cotton Candy with Mephyz, and How Many Girls with Yuang. The ones that I thought I might not like was PTSD. The song was just going a certain way, but then Odumodublvck came in. I'm like, boom! I love this. If I have to pick my least favorite song, it would have to be the only one which was released as a single, which is Violence.
Okay. See, there was one thing you said, and that is one thing I have always respected Erigga for, and it's about his feature artists. He knows. See, only God knows. I mean, I've said this time and time again. Now only God knows where Erigga defined all these guys. Erigga was the one that introduced us to Victor AD, and we know what Victor AD has turned out to be. And then he has Teazer, and have Oga Network, and like you rightly said, Teazer. In fact, Teazer and Erigga, they have an EP together. They've done about all the songs they've done together now. If I'm to count it, should be about 10, including the one on the EP, including the one on the featured project, and stuff like that. And like you rightly said, he knows how to find these artists that are giving the necessary hook or the necessary chorus that will make the album or that will make the song, on point. And shout out to everybody that came through, on the album. Like you said, How Many Girls featuring Yuang? I've never heard of the guy before. He's also a producer and he's also a singer, and he killed it. And again, that same song that featured the Lost Boy, which is track 12, that also featured Yuang and Teazer. That was another one of my top track, on the album. So my top track on the album, number one, has to be Family Ties, like you rightly said, featuring Oga Network. I mean, that song, it's just everything. If there's one thing I like most about this album, like you rightly said, you mentioned the growth of Erigga. Now, we've always known Erigga to be that guy that talk about the streets, his life, and his everything. And again, when I saw the name of the album, The Lost Boy, I felt like, okay, Erigga go talk, like Ingo Yarn. Ingo talk in mind for this album. And the first track, Inshallah, said everything that the album was going to be about. Look, man, I got lost in the process, and I'm about to tell you, the old stories. And like Riley said, he still stuck to, being true to himself. He says things the way they are without, sugarcoating it. Like Riley said, the song L with V, that was on Louis Vuitton. The second track also came through. How many girls? He talks about his life with girls. He talks about his life on the streets. He talks about, so many things that he talked about on this album. But like I rightly said, my favorite song on the album, number one has to be Family Ties. Number two has to be Cotton Candy. I mean, I love that song. Then also, All My Guys Are Lit. Hey, All My Guys Are Lit. With PsychoYP. And also, PTSD did it for me because, again, Odumodublvck, that's just one artist that is... I just started following him recently. I mean, to be very honest, I just discovered him. I think last month was when I discovered him, and I've loved everything he has been on. And to see him on Erigga's album is just, is just dope. He also even mentioned it like, when Erigga, had to put him up, it was like, oh my God, so it's so good to see him there. Every featured artist on this album came through, and like Riley said, in terms of songs that I really do not like, I feel like if I'm going to mention any, because the thing is, honestly, I love every song on the album, but if there's one song I'll say, okay, make I just pick this one for the sake of picking, it has to be A Girl Called Grace. I don't know. I felt like that song was just, if you look at everything that has been on this album, that song is like a song that I'll just remove and not put on the album and just have every other song on the album just be there. But it is what it is. So now let's talk about rating of the album. Now, I'm going to ask you two questions and we're going to use that to wrap up, the whole thing. So if you have to rate the album, what rating will you give the album and why? That's question number one. Now, question number two is, do you see this album in terms of Erigga's album that he has released? Where will you place the album in terms of number one, number two, or number three, or maybe in just try? And also, in terms of rap albums that you've listened to so far this year, where do you see this album standing?
So if I have to rate this album, my rating would actually come from... So I've always been an Erigga fan, without the good production and all. The first thing that made me fall in love with Erigga was the rawness in the song. So like, I never fell in love with him because of production or anything. It was just the lyrics and what he had to say on his songs, and that's why for me, the Erigga, the best album so far. I think this would take somewhere around second or third, in comparison with A Trip to the South. What I like most about this album, of course, is the growth. Like, you really see the work he puts into the album. Like, be small money drop for this album, so like he really put in, I think it was an investment for him. So if I was to rate this album, I'll give this album a very, very strong 8/10, because there is no song that for me is below average. Like, all the songs are either way top there or just a little above average. So like, it's going to be a 8/10 for me. In terms of rap albums this year, I don't even know if I'll call this a rap album, but with the way rap is going in Nigeria, yes, of course it can classify as a rap album. There has not been so many impressive rap albums this year. in my own opinion. So I would say after Am I the Guy, this would be my second best rap album of this year. I might change my mind later, but for now, it's number one has to be Am I the Guy and Erigga the Lost Boy.
All right. So, like you rightly said, if there was one thing we fell in love with Erigga for, it was how raw his rap has always been. It wasn't even about the production. It wasn't about, oh, the beat is dope or the beat is whack. It was about how raw, this guy sounds, saying things that most other rappers would dare not say or are afraid to say, and also the lingua in which he used in saying it. He says it in pidgin, and you can quickly connect with it. And for me, listening to this album, and why I'll also go the route of rating this album an 8/10 is because we tend to see artists like Erigga. I mean, when they get to a certain stage, you feel like, okay, you know what? This guy don't rap about in life. He don't rap about when they arrest him. He don't rap about when they call him body crisis. Waiting the way you want to talk again. He don't they make all the money. So the only thing he has to be talking about is, I slept with this, I popped 3 champagne, I popped 4 champagne. But still, I mean, getting to album number 5, and you still staying true to your roots. For we, your day one fan, say, okay, Erigga still never sell out. He still maintain that originality, and that is, I feel like that is the most difficult thing for a rapper to do. For you to grow and still maintain your originality, it is way difficult, and that's why I respect him so much on this album. And again, like you rightly said, the production on this album was dope. In terms of the mixing and the mastering, the beats and every other thing, it was really dope. And I love the fact that, like you rightly said, you cannot, in the real sense of it, you cannot really call this a full-fledged, rap album, because the production of the album varies. It was not like, it was straight hip-hop. There was Afro swing, there was Afro pop, there was even a little bit of Afro highlight in there somewhere, you understand? But yeah, we all know that Erigga is a rapper, so yes, you can say this, is at least you call it an hip-hop album or a rap album. So I love that, for the album. I love the fact that the album was original. The content was as raw as, it's supposed to be. And for that, I'm going to rate the album 8/10. Now, in terms of category of where I'm going to put the album in Erigga's album catalog, and also to the rap album that I've listened to this year, I will start with Erigga's, album category. I don't know, it feels like you and I were on the same level, when we talk about his album. You rightly mentioned the Erigga, that was the first Erigga, which for me till date, nothing come close to that, nothing. Then, secondly, you talked about A Trip to the South. Now, that was another album that entirely bust my brain. And then we have, The Lost Boy. I'm talking about The Lost Boy. Let me just quickly, because I felt like we didn't touch on something that this was the first time we're going to hear Erigga do this on any project. And I feel like we should let's just take 2 minutes to talk about that. The last track, The Ballad of a Lost Boy.
So I was not expecting it. I was really not expecting it. Like, I even thought it was just going to be like a 5-second intro before we hear like the outro of the album, and it just kept on going for like 3 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is still part of the growth. Like, so this guy really wants to pass a message, and okay, if I don't talk, if I don't rap, if I don't sing the thing, at least make I talk am, make you feel hear. So like he really talked about his struggles so far, like what his next moves will be, and I think it was a welcomed idea. I really enjoyed listening to it. Most other outros like that I just skip, but this one, like when it comes in the playlist, I actually listen to it till the very end. Like, it's things I could relate to it, so it's a welcome idea, and man, thumbs up for that. He has never done that before, and yeah, I think it was a good addition to the album. Like, it sealed the album. Like, okay, curtains closed, guys, we're going home.
that was the exact word I was looking for. It sealed the album. That was what okay, you know what? Yes. You know, when you listen to an album and you're getting to it and you're looking for that particular song or that particular track that will just say, it don't knock out, it don't finish, nothing more. That did it. It did it for me on the album. So yes, my rating of the album is also going to be, 8/10. So Remy, thank you very much for doing this. I really do appreciate.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and my amazing members of the Cha Cha Nation, with that, I have come to the end of another episode of the Cha Cha album review series on the Cha Cha Music Review Podcast. Remember, my name is always Mephyz Tonova, aka your musical plug, creator of the Energy Force. Till I come your way with another episode, remember to keep the energy, keep it 100, and keep it positive. Peace out.
Time for the Cha Cha Geng. Give me the Cha Cha Geng. Rocking with the best, Cha Cha Geng. Give me the Cha Cha Geng. Alayela with Cha Cha Geng. Give me the Cha Cha Geng. What's in my body, Cha Cha Geng. Give me the Cha Cha Geng. Cha Cha Geng.
What's in my gut?